After nearly 2 decades of seeing Tony Stark innovate and create better armor, fans were expectantly not so keen on the debut of Riri Williams as Ironheart. And it just so happens that the internet has been completely split on the show that's been running for the past week. You have some saying that she's disrespecting Tony Stark's legacy, and you have others saying that it's not about Tony Stark at all. Needless to say, this show is heavily misunderstood, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. First things first, let's get one thing straight. I like this show. I believe that the hate that it's getting is somewhat undeserved. And I think that people are only really hating on this show because they either don't understand it, they haven't watched past the first episode, or they're a bunch of weird racists. And fuck those people, mind you. Those people can go die in a hole. But we're here to talk about the people who don't understand the show. Now, my initial first thoughts while watching the first episode were pretty negative. I thought this show had pretty lazy writing. I felt like it was going in a direction that was just not super fun. But then I got past the first episode and I watched episode 2 and 3 and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty intriguing. I like Riri as a character. I really enjoy the Hood as a character. I think that they have a lot of good things going for them. But I do think that this show suffers from the miniseries curse, which is they just try and shove so much exposition into every line because they don't have like a 20 season show to work with. And in my opinion, that's really like the biggest problem of the show, especially in episode 1. It just kind of feels like a 40-minute long exposition dump on like Riri's character and her place in the world and why she does what she does, which is fine. I think the first episode needs to do that, but I feel like they didn't do it in a very elegant way, if that makes sense. And as I said, once I got past the first episode, the story really started to blossom in a way that I didn't expect. It was really then that I realized this show isn't about replacing Tony Stark. It's not about continuing his legacy. It's about creating something entirely new. And to do this, the writers do acknowledge Tony Stark's influence in order to create a dramatic difference between him and Riri. It's essentially the writers trying to say, Riri will never be Tony. She's going to be her own hero. In fact, one of the first things we hear Riri say is, would Tony Stark be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire? And a lot of people really don't like this line. Many people interpreted this as Riri saying Iron Man would not be a genius had he not been a billionaire, and I don't think that's what she was implying at all. The real context of this line is, would Tony Stark be as iconic, influential, or important had he not had his fortune, his wealth? The answer is, of course, no, and we see that with Riri Williams. She is as smart, if not smarter than Tony Stark, but doesn't have the resources to prove herself. You see, this line was never meant to be a dig at Tony Stark. It was purely meant to show Tony's privilege with his wealth, his skin, his gender, things like that. Also, for those of you trying to say that Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps, mind you, those scraps were from $1 million missiles that he created. So even in a time where he was trapped in a cave, plugged to a car battery to stay alive, he still had more privilege than Riri Williams. And I'm not saying that he was privileged to be there, but he had more resources. And I think that's what they're trying to get across. I can already hear the comments right now, so let's just go ahead and move on. Another big aspect of this show is Riri's best friend Natalie, who tragically passed away during a drive-by shooting. In the show, Riri is still trying to understand this grief and trauma because she was there the night that Natalie died. And so she's really struggling internally with this guilt almost that I think that she feels. This sorrow, she doesn't want to address this. And in the first episode, she uses a neural link to create an AI and accidentally recreates her best friend in AI form. Not only is this comic accurate, it actually creates a really good conversation surrounding the modern state of AI. My only real gripe with this is that in the first episode, to really hone in the fact that Riri misses her friend, they replay the same clip of them over and over and over again. I mean, like legitimately 5 times. And I understand they're trying to get that point across and they don't have a whole lot of time to do it, but like, you guys could have shot something else with them together. But with that aside, I think those shots do make certain plot points a lot more impactful later on in the story. I digress. Another aspect of the show I really enjoy is the Hood. I surprisingly really like his character. I think it's very clear that the Hood is from, the Hood that that character wears is from Mephisto himself. And I'm excited to see Mephisto's debut. I really think they're doing a really good job at like portraying Mephisto in like a pretty creepy way, but keeping it like PG-13. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where that goes. And they also introduced another character named Joe, who you can see in the trailers here, but I'm not going to really get into his character story. They introduced a pretty cool plot point for him, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. So if you're interested, I would recommend watching the show. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that everyone fits into their roles really well. There are some minor hiccups with acting here or there, but ultimately it's really not noticeable, and it doesn't really take me out of the plot at all. I also just want to mention that the suit itself looks amazing. I think it looks a little clunky at times, but the way that she gets into it and the way that it operates is very reminiscent of like Iron Man 3. And after so many years of just nanotech, I'm really happy to see a suit that like builds itself around the host, I guess you could say. So that's a really nice aspect that I appreciate. Overall, I think this project has a lot of potential. This is definitely a shorter video this week. I'm not feeling too good. I don't know if I've come under some allergies or just getting a cold, but yeah, my head's like super congested. That's why I've been kind of low energy this video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys agree with what I say, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. I really don't think this show deserves all the hate that it's getting. I think that I went into it expecting it to be bad, given all the reviews that I've been seeing. And I do think that episode 1 is weak compared to episode 2 and 3. But with all of them together, it feels like more natural, and I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would. I don't want to like say for certain how good the show is without seeing all of it, but so far, it's really intriguing, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the Hood, because he's actually pretty intimidating. Anthony Ramos does a really good job. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about it because it's fucking popular right now, and I don't know. I needed to get my 2 cents out there because I feel like it's important to understand media. And I'm tired and sick, so. Anyways, all that being said, if you guys want to see me do a breakdown or a review after the show is complete, leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you're new also, so you don't miss out on that. Oh, I also want to make an announcement in this video. If I can get to 616 subscribers by November 17th, which I think is really doable, I'm going to watch every single Marvel property ever before Doomsday. Every day, I will watch one Marvel movie and or show that exists in the MCU. And yes, I'm talking about the legacy stuff like with Toby and Andrew, because technically that is canon now. I'm going to watch all of it. And it's going to be an everyday process that I'll post about. So if you want that, please help me get to 616 subscribers. That would be amazing. With all that being said, my outros are always really long. I am Geek Week. Thank you guys so much for sticking around, and I am excited to show you guys what I have planned in the future.